lipstick. Hi everyone. I'm just gonna wait for the cosmic woman to join us. So excited to be having this conversation. Hello, the real hip hop life. Hi, Candy Kong. I think she's gonna be joining us in a second. But let me start with just welcoming you guys. And if you guys have any questions for holistic hormonal balance, then just type them in so that we can get to those. Hello, Kendally. Just getting the cosmic woman to join us. All right, I found you. All right, guys, we're getting started. All right, guys, so for those of you who, hey, you're here.
Hi, goddess.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. No complaints whatsoever. How are you?
I'm good. So let's kick things off so that we can get right into it. I hate when I'm on a live and everyone's waiting. Everyone's like waiting for the person to join. They're waiting for 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'm here and I'm ready. So let's get started. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Krystal. I'm the founder of Anxiety, which is an online course and program that helps people to conquer anxiety and thrive in their lives in really profound ways. I'm a holistic anxiety specialist, so Ramona and I really connect on really just balancing things naturally because you can, and it's a really, really powerful way to own your own mind and your own body. And I'm a personal development author, but I really want to turn the focus over to the cosmic woman because we're going to be talking about holistic hormonal balance, a topic that I think serves a lot of people in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, with that, Ramona, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into everything that you do?
Sure. Well, first of all, I would say that the what I focus on mostly is really the holistic aspect of the reproductive system. And it took me a while to get here because I went to school for like education. I was teaching like children. Like that's what I got up every day and loved doing, early childhood education. And after a while, I think I was a little kitted out because I had like two kids at this time. And when I would get home, I'd be like, why are you doing this? But then I had like all of the patience and love and tender care with everyone else's children. And I realized that, okay, I'm kind of, the things are changing, it's shifting, I'm growing in whatever way, and I can't, this is not for me anymore, And I really didn't know what it was that I was going to do, but it seemed like God, the universe, however you want to look at it, really put some issues, some challenges in my life when it came to my reproductive system, when it came to hormonal balance, when it came to fertility, when it came to all of these things, there was a problem. And when I was 29, I was diagnosed with a condition called adenomyosis, which basically is a reproductive disease that affects your uterus. And basically that means that your uterus is just growing on top of itself over and over again. So blood vessels are bursting and all this kind of crazy stuff are happening. And of course, if your uterus is growing on top of itself, then, I mean, getting pregnant is one thing, but keeping the pregnancy is a whole nother thing when your uterus is doing that craziness. But I realized that when, you know, my OBGYN came to me and said, listen, you either have to do birth control, which you're going to have to be on for the rest of your life, or you are going to need to have a hysterectomy. I think that really like triggered something. And it made me realize that there's got to be something else. There's got to be another option other than you taking on my uterus. I'm 29. Like, what are you talking about? You know? And I went into this kind of holistic mindset where I changed my foods, you know, I got into sound therapy. I got a lot into color therapy. I just tackled a world that I didn't know, Krystal, I didn't know it even existed, but like I like head first in it, you know. And in 2.5 months, you know, the healing happened. I became pregnant. I had a beautiful birth. It was amazing. And from there, I guess things started to trigger my mind in terms of, but Ramona, you can't be the only one that's walking around with like hormonal issues or uterus issues or whatever issues, you know? And so I took my challenges, I guess, and my stresses and decided that I really wanted to like help other women. I wanted to make sure that women don't feel as alone as I felt when I was going through, you know, my reproductive issues. So I started Cosmic Woman, which
I love
basically,
the name.
yeah, and it's so funny because when I started Cosmic Woman, it was really about the womb and the woman. And 8 years later, we do the womb and we do the man. So it's crazy how that happens when that wasn't even my focus at the beginning. But yeah, so I ended up creating this because I knew that I needed to bring awareness and not necessarily women wait until there's really an issue for us to now be fixing and scrambling, you know, to get things right. But looking at what it is you're dealing with now, you know, and listening to your body and that type of thing. So that's pretty much how Cosmic Woman gets started in like the short version.
Yeah. No, I love the stories when, you know, it's so meaningful too when when people get into work based on their own personal experience, because then when they're dealing with the problem with people, they have such a deep compassion because they experience the same problems that that person has been through, and they understand like what trying those different things are like, and they just understand that journey so deeply. So it's just always nice to connect with people who are, you know, living their purpose based on the challenges that they faced in life and turning that into a gift for themselves and for other people. So
I agree.
just so amazing. So Ramona, I'm dying to talk about the 1 day period.
Right, because every woman would want a 1 day period, right?
That was an option. I was like, who does not want to know about how to have their period for 1 day?
Exactly. I get it. Totally. Totally.
So
So the 1 day period. So let's get a little bit into that. So normally women, we're going to say normal. Okay. 5 to 7 days, maybe 6 to 11 days, somewhere around there is usually what happens for women, you know, in terms of what they go through on a monthly basis. But as I told you before, which you were blown away by, that our periods can really last from 18 hours to 24 hours. And that really shows the health of our reproductive system. So if you have a 7 day period, you're not going to get a 1 day period in 2 months. Okay, that's just not going to happen, or it can happen, but that would be like a miracle, right? But it is really about getting it shorter, and not just shorter, but making sure that the symptoms, because if you have a 3 day or a 4 day period and you don't get breast tenderness, you don't get bloating, you don't get clots, you don't get headaches, you don't get anything, a 4 day period isn't bad. I mean, that's great for a lot of women. They would take that. So let's say, for example, your period lasts for 7 months, 7 days. between different things that we could do, and I will go over those, you can get your period down to 4 days from that 7 day to that 4 days in less than 2 months. Okay, that could probably even happen in 1 month, depending on how anal you are about doing the things that you need to do to get there. Okay, so when it comes to the period itself, the reason why we're bleeding that much is because the uterine lining itself is shedding, and it's shedding a lot, right? And when the uterine lining sheds so much, it's really not a healthy thing. It might be normal, but it's not healthy. And I really try to let people understand that normal versus healthy, there is a huge difference. You know what I mean? You could be getting your period and having pain and whatever since the first day you had your period up until 30. Right? And to you, that's normal, and it is normal, but it does not mean that that is a healthy state that your reproductive system is in.
Yeah.
So there are a few things that we can do to shorten our periods. Number one is our pads and our tampons. What are we using? Like, what are you using? Okay, if we use the generic brands, and I'm not going to go over that, right? But if we use the generic brands that we all know about and see advertised, a lot of times, most of them have chlorine bleach in them. Okay, they have pesticides in them. They have plastic in them, and some of them have fragrance in them. So all of these chemicals in themselves make you bleed more. And that's why they put it in there, to make you bleed more. Because the more you bleed is the more you buy. I mean, just makes sense, right? So looking at our pads and looking at our tampons are huge. Sorry, what did you say?
No, I'm saying this got deep. Like, I was
So that is a huge thing, right? So our pads and our tampons are huge. If you change nothing about your lifestyle and just change your pads or your tampons, your period will drop in 2 days just by changing your pads or your tampons, maybe even more, depending on the person, the woman, right? So we want to look at that.
What's a good brand to use?
Okay, so I personally use 2 different brands. I use Cherish and I use Jewel. Now, those are not necessarily ones that you will find at the supermarket or the pharmacy or anything like that, right? You usually have to just go to the website and place the order, right? The reason why I prefer these pads are not just because they don't have any toxicity in them, because you could go to CVS and get some pads that don't have necessarily the toxicity in them, but do they hold you? Are you gonna like have a mess? You know what I mean? Like, we're too big to like have like a stain on our skirt. That shit is not cute anymore. You know what I mean? So these 2 pads, the Cherish itself, it has an ion strip in it, and the ion strip allows you to like, it dries up the pad in some sort of way, so you're not having a smell. The pad itself doesn't feel wet. You know what I mean? Because a lot of pads, you know, you feel wetty. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh my God, I need to change this pad because it's like too close to me and all that grossness, right? And also, again, you know, ion itself is really good for like immune in itself. Now, when we get into the Jewel pads, the reason why I like those is because it has a chemical in it called graphene. And the graphene is actually great for bacterial, and it actually helps your cramps to be better. Like, it lessens your cramps. So those are the 2 that I prefer, just because I feel like it holds me better. I feel like it sticks in my underwear better. I'm not smelling myself. I'm not worried about leaking on myself. So that's me personally. After trying so many pads, those are the pads that I personally prefer, right?
Shana is asking where we can get it from.
Okay, so if you are in the US, I can definitely send you the website. It is www.jewelpads.cosmicwoman.com. I think I might be wrong, but I will send it to Krystal, and she can send you guys the information if you need it. But it is Jewel Pads, or Cherish itself. If you are in Jamaica itself, we have it at the store, so you can come and you can get it from the store, order it, and we deliver it or something like that, just depending on what works better for you. right? So pads are huge, tampons as well, because the tampons have the same thing, right? Tampons have the chlorine bleach and the pesticides and all that excitement. Now, when it comes to the tampons, that is even harder. It's harder to really find good ones. So I would say there is a brand, there are CVS. I don't know anybody in the States, CVS. There is a natural brand. And if you get the Super Plus, it will definitely hold you. And it's cheap. It's like $7 plus tax. I mean, it's not bad. And you get like 18 pads, 18 tampons or something with it. And you will see the difference after a while. I promise. After a month, you see it. If not a month, by the time you get to 2 months, you're going to be like, oh my God, my period's half the time it used to be. It's awesome.
So is there anything else that we should do to have the 1 day period, or the
okay, so the pads are one thing. Another thing is really our diet, okay? And for me to sit here and say, oh, you got to be vegan and go vegan and all of that, I mean, that's not really realistic for everyone, right? And I'll be honest, I used to be vegan completely, and I've started to introduce little bits of meats here and there and that kind of thing. But what I would say is, if you don't eat meat at least 3 days before your period and during your period will be much easier. Okay, we have to remember that our digestive system and our reproductive system, they work together. You know what I mean? They are best friends. So when one is stressed out because it has to go through all of this extra digestion of beef and pork and all these different things, it stresses out the reproductive system in its own self. So if we can make the digestive system work a little less, then we find that our reproductive system gains from that. So 3 days before your period, during the period, try and stay off the heavy meats, and you will realize a huge difference as well. And when I say heavy meats, that also includes dairy.
All right.
Okay, because dairy is huge.
Okay. I'm going to do this for my next period and give everybody a period update.
Yes, do it.
Listen, I mean, there's so many juicy. Okay, I'm sorry. There's so many.
No, go ahead, please.
But what did you want to? Okay, just so that everybody know who's joining us, we are talking about like holistically balancing hormones, and right now we're talking about the 1 day period, every girl's dream, and we are going to also be talking about how to have more joyful PMS as well as postpartum period, those times in our lives when our hormones are raging.
All over the freaking place.
But if anyone has questions for us just on hormonal balance, then type them in here and we'll get to them. But we're just going to finish up on the 1 day period. Was there something else you wanted to share about that, Ramona?
Yeah, so what I would also suggest is vaginal steaming. Right. So right now in 2020, vaginal steaming is this like huge trend, right? That everybody's like getting into. But vaginal steaming is old. I mean, they've been doing this since Jesus was a boy kind of situation, right? And basically,
when you're breaking up, Ramona? Is Ramona breaking up for you guys or just me? Ramona! Let me know if you guys are seeing her fine or if it's me that's breaking up. Hey. I can see you now. You were breaking up before, but...
Okay, I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, so you were saying vaginal steaming has been around since Jesus was a boy.
Yeah, vaginal steaming has been around for years, right? And basically, vaginal steaming in itself helps with a lot of things, okay? When it comes to the period, since it is that we're talking about periods right now, it really helps to shorten the period. It helps us to not be able to have clots during our period, because ladies, we're not supposed to have clots, like at all, like none. Like not the stringy ones, not the little beanie ones, not the big fat ones.
Like what are clots?
Yes. Clots are the lining of your uterus.
Uh-huh.
So when their lining of your uterus sheds, you should just shed blood. When you're shedding the clots, it's like tissue. It's like not the outside of the uterus anymore. It's like coming down more
Right.
into the uterus. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm sure this conversation is making guys feel really sexy right now.
Don't worry, we're gonna soon start talking about things that are gonna make the men very excited. So there's time for them.
Guys will get
But
real
yeah,
horny
so
listening to this conversation.
yes, and you're gonna have to get it done. Have an orgasm tonight after this conversation. Anyway,
No clots. We don't want the flesh coming out
so
of our
this.
Okay.
So basically, so the vaginal steam itself is really, really great for lessening the clots, shortening the period, right? And it just feels good. You feel fresh. You feel amazing, and it's great for sex too. It makes sex like totally like off the wall as well. Even though sex could be already amazing, it makes it even more amazing. But vaginal steam really helps to to shorten the period as well, which is what we want to do. So you have some women that when they get their period, they spot for 2 days and then they bleed for another 3 days and then they spot for another 2 days after. This is just an example, right? When your period comes, for me, right, when I'm talking to my clients, what lets me know what is healthy versus what is not healthy is, number one, when your period comes, what color is your period? What color is your blood when it first comes down? Is it brown? Is it burgundy? Is it pink? Is it orange? Is it black? What the free color is it? We want to make sure that whatever color it is, there are only 3 colors that are okay, or 3 colors that are healthy. It's pink, light red, and bright red. That's it. If your period starts burgundy, it's old blood. If your period starts brown, that's old blood. If your period starts black, that's definitely old blood, right? And so when we're starting our periods with this old blood, you find that our cervix and our uterus and everything in that reproductive area is becoming toxic because we're having blood from the last period sitting there for the next period, because the cervix kind of closed before all the period could come out. So you have the period trapped back in the cervix, waiting for the cervix to open again, which is what will happen during the period stage. And then you will see this color that's this brownish or this darkish color. We don't want that, okay? So
our
that
vag
is a
wants some
huge
sauna
thing.
time.
I didn't hear that.
Our vag wants some sauna time.
Yes, definitely. We want to do a facial for our vagina,
Got
right?
it.
So I call it actually a facial. That's what I call my vaginal steams, facial.
Amazing.
You know.
My vagina's like,
But yeah, so
me.
yeah. So it's really, really good for us to be able to make sure that the color of our period is healthy and also the clot situation and shortening the period. And that's what the vaginal steam really does, right? Another thing that I would say is making sure that your body, you're taking vitamins. A lot of times we're not. Sometimes we're giving vitamins to our children and we're not taking crap, right? We want to make sure that we are having a plant-based female vitamin in our body on a daily basis, because a lot of times the reason why our hormones are all over the place is literally because of deficiencies. There's not enough iron, there's not enough magnesium, there's not enough of all of these other things, and then your body is reacting or showing signs that something is off. So those things alone will shorten your period and get you down.
Yeah.
Now, if you went into a thing where now you're going to say, okay, I'm not going to eat any meat and I'm not going to then you're going to see even a bigger shift. You know what I mean? On a shorter period. Because I used to have an 11-day period. My period is now 2 days and I love it. You know what I mean? I love it, love it, love it. So it can happen for anybody. It can happen for me. It can happen to everybody.
Well, so since we're on PMS, since we're on period, let's talk about PMS. So that's how we can shorten the period itself and also just make sure we're having the healthiest period possible. But like, so and this is so funny that we're having this conversation because I just got my period last week, right? And the 2 days before my period, I was so emotional. I was like, okay, my period's clearly coming. I was like, you know what? I'm so emotional. My period's coming. I'm going to sit in my bed. I'm going to eat some ice cream. I'm going to watch like Broadway musicals and cry. And it felt so good.
Nothing wrong with that. Come on now.
There's
Nothing
a
wrong
good
with
way to
that.
like use all that like hormones, get them out. You know what I mean? So, but I was like, I wouldn't mind skipping this.
Well, it's when it comes to PMS, right? PMS is it's signs to let us know what's wrong and what's right. Okay. So for some women like you get emotional, right? And you would see a movie and you'd cry. If it happened 4 days ago, you wouldn't have cried, but because your period is right about to come, you're gonna cry. For some women, it's breast tenderness. For some, it's nausea. For some, it's headaches. It's bloating. It's whatever it is, cramps, right?
Fascinating.
For some women, their knees hurt and their feet and their ankle. I mean, every woman is different, right? But no woman should have PMS. No woman. When your period is to come, it should be almost like a surprise, unless it is that you trapped your period. So
Wow, we
you
have
shouldn't
some
have the
radical period talk going down here. 1 day period, no PMS. Tell us more. It's a whole new life out there for us, guys.
yeah, so PMS should be non-existent. So if you suffer from PMS, that is your body telling you something is wrong. Your hormones are off, or your body needs to be detoxed, or you're deficient of minerals and vitamins like magnesium and iron and vitamin D3 and those types of things. Okay? So for you to not suffer from PMS, there are things that you're going to have to do depending on the PMS symptoms that you suffer from. Okay. Detoxing, as I said, is huge, right? Detoxing the body, because a lot of times the toxins and the foods and that kind of thing are left over in our body. Because let's keep it real. Let's look at beef. The majority of people eat beef. Okay. Beef takes almost 90 days to digest out of your entire system. 90 days, right? And some people eat beef twice a week or even once a week. And then these people probably don't go to the bathroom after every meal. So if you are not going to the bathroom after every meal, and on top of it, you are eating beef once a week, twice a week or more, you are going to have PMS issues. It's going to happen. Right? If your body is deficient of certain minerals and vitamins, you're going to have PMS as well. So PMS is signs just like the actual period symptoms that we get. It's signs as well.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So vitamins and diet.
Vitamins, diet,
and for
detoxing.
diet, you're talking about like no red meat and no dairy.
Yes, no
Okay.
red meat, no dairy, depending on your condition. So you have some women that have painful periods or uncomfortable periods because they actually have a reproductive condition. They suffer from PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, or they suffer from fibroids, or they suffer from endometriosis, or those types of things. Now, if you suffer from that, that's a completely different thing, because you now have to be more anal about your diet, because now there's actually a condition. It's not just that you need to detox anymore. It's that your hormones are now so thrown off that we have to now do a whole lot of things to balance those back out. Okay. But if it is that you don't suffer from those types of conditions, and it's just really that, you suffer from this PMS issue, 3 days before your period or something like that, that diet, the detoxing, even abdomen massage. Okay. I teach women, take some oil, take some coconut oil. Saturate your abdomen, lie in your bed and show your abdomen some love. You don't have to press hard. You don't have to, it is literally showing it love. Just gently in a circular motion, just rubbing it from your belly button all the way down to the mound of your vagina. Because I'll tell you something, Krystal, sometimes it's not that you have a condition. Sometimes the issue is that there is stagnant blood and there is blockages.
Yeah, circulation.
And the massages really help that blockage situation. And you find that, oh my God, my periods are so much easier. And at the end of the day, all you had to do was massage. You didn't even have to change your diet. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do that. All it was that it was blockage. There was a circulatory issue.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean?
Sandy Z has some questions. She's asking, if anyone gets a headache with magnesium. I feel like with magnesium, you have to drink a lot of water. And I know that sometimes if you don't have a lot of water, you can get a headache. So that's what I would
Yes.
say. But what do you want to say something else on that?
I would say look at your magnesium. Look at your ingredients. You want when you're getting magnesium, that all you're getting is magnesium. And you find a lot of times with vitamins and minerals, you're getting a lot of fillers. And sometimes those fillers just don't agree with you well. So you'll find that you're buying magnesium, but then it has like rice flour, right? The heck does it have rice flour? Like, what's that about? You know what I mean? And that's just because they put a little bit of magnesium and they fill the rest of it with all of these fillers. And maybe your body doesn't respond well to that. Maybe the capsule that the magnesium in is made out of meat versus made out of a vegetable. So you want to look at those things. You want to look at your ingredients. But magnesium is definitely supposed to help your pain management.
Yeah.
Magnesium is huge for that. But yes, I would definitely suggest drinking a lot more water for sure. 100%, Krystal. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I think that this topic on meat I mean, guys, we're going to get to talking about like, a joyful postpartum, which is a topic I think is really juicy and I'm really excited to talk about. But I think just the question of meat, I think some people feel, and I'm just asking because Sandy Z was saying that she craves meat leading up to her period. And I know, you know, sometimes you hear things like when you have your period, you need to eat meat because you need to replenish an iron. And some people feel like like red meat is a part of a balanced diet. Like, what would you say for people who are having those internal concerns?
Okay, so first of all, if you are craving meat before or during your cycle, your iron is low. Straight.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need
Makes
to
sense.
get a plant-based iron in your diet. Okay. It's like when I talk to my clients and I say, don't eat liver. It's not good for you. And they're like, what do you mean it's not good for me? It has all of this iron. I'm like, yeah, it has a lot of iron, but it has a lot of iron mixed with shit. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the dirtiest part of the animal. I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Is that really the best way to get the iron? Right? So I really suggest that if you are craving meats before your period and during your period, it is an iron deficiency. So I suggest getting a plant-based iron that is gluten-free, this-free, soy-free, all kind of free,
Okay.
right? And taking that on a daily basis. And iron should always be taken on an empty stomach, okay? And you don't want to take an iron that's going to constipate you. So you want to really make sure. If you can't find one that you want, you can hit me up. We have iron, you can get it. But it's not that you have to get it from me. I just want you on a plant-based, healthy iron. That would be great if it is that you're craving meats and that kind of thing. If you're craving sugars, that's also a red flag as well, okay? That is also deficiencies as well, okay? So we want to make sure that there is definitely enough magnesium in your diet, okay? Iron, enough iron in your diet. These things are really important. You'll realize that you won't suffer from these things anymore once you have that in your body.
Okay. And so last question, just to like wrap up this section, what steamer would you recommend for our
Okay.
facials?
So I have two facial steams, okay? I have one that I make out of essential oils, and it's A-grade essential oils, and that's actually what I use because I love that moist. I mean, it's moist no matter which one you use, but the oil leaves a slight oily residue, and it really makes my vagina feel amazing, right? The other one I have is literally a herb blend, okay, and that's what I started with, and it's called a female nourisher, and it has all kinds of different herbs. It has calendula, it has chamomile, it has red raspberry, red clover. What else is in it? I don't remember.
And so you make these, right?
Yeah, so I
Okay,
make these.
amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll send you one. Don't worry.
Okay,
I got you.
And so I'm gonna link Ramona here, but you guys can also message her directly because we're gonna share a little bit more at the end of the conversation about how you can talk to Ramona more about any specific things that you any specific issues that you're having or how she can support you with your fertility or your hormonal balance. So we'll talk about that a little more, but that's exciting that you have these vag steaming amazing serums and potions that we
You're
can
awesome.
use.
Listen, I have men that call and order this for their women. Okay, it makes a huge difference.
How does a guy give that to a chick the first time? Is that like, how does that conversation go?
Well, I mean, I guess maybe they're already in a relationship, you know, and she bought it and he was like, "Oh my God, what did you do different?" And she's like, "Oh, I did this." And he's like, "Okay, can I buy it the next month?
Oh,
Because
I
this was
love
great."
it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, I mean, when it comes to the vaginal steam and, you know, and your partner and sexual and that kind of thing, we have to remember that the steam in itself, you know, it is going to make you warmer. Warmer is always great for a man. Number two is it's going to make your vagina and everything swell. And that's always great for a man, which is why men love to have sex with women who are pregnant because she's warmer, she's wetter, she's fatter. And that's exactly what the vaginal steam does. It makes you warmer, it makes you fatter, and it makes you wetter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's always good. So I want to get to postpartum, but my girl Vanessa is here, and I love her. She did my program and she just had such amazing results, and I just like, she's so inspiring. Like every time I talk to her, she's just doing, like, I just love her so much. So she's asking, how do you treat clients with endometriosis? So we'll just answer that really quickly, and then we'll talk about postpartum.
Okay. So endometriosis is a hormonal issue. It means that your estrogen level is too high. So if you suffer from endometriosis, you definitely are going to want to cut out anything that would have any kind of estrogen in it. So that's soy, that's dairy, that's chicken, that's beef, that's all those things that they would put estrogen in. Okay. Number two, you want to be on magnesium. When you suffer from endometriosis, your magnesium levels are low. And a lot of times the pain that you have, because remember I was talking about the uterine lining and shedding. When you suffer from endometriosis, your uterine lining either is extremely thin or your lining now connects to other parts of your body. So your uterus is connected to your bowels, or it's connected to your fallopian tubes, or through scar tissue, through the lining, it creates a scar tissue and it connects. So magnesium is really good. Serapeptase is also very good, which is a capsule. You want to take that because that really helps to remove the scar tissue itself. And ginger, I would also add, because ginger softens the scar tissue, and then serapeptase like pulls it away. So it's a great combo. So those are a few things that you can do. There are many more. You can send me a message if you want to know.
Okay, what vitamin do you take, Ramona?
I take something called Feminine Divine, and it's something that I make and sell. It is prenatal. I mean, it is plant-based. It also cleans my blood, which is one of the things I love about it. It gives me everything I need in terms of vitamins and minerals. And I guess also because I don't suffer from reproductive issues anymore, praise God, it is enough for me. But for some women, depending on the conditions they might have, they might need to take that and extra vitamin D3 or extra vitamin C, just depending on what's going on with their reproductive system.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, amazing. All right, guys. So now let's get into
Free postpartum!
every woman's favorite period of their life. And I'm saying that
Postpartum.
because some of you guys might know that I had a challenging postpartum, and I think that, you know, before I had my baby, you know, I feel like I didn't really know anybody who had gone through that. And so, you know, when you're going through that, you kind of feel like, well, what's wrong with me? You know what I mean? Like, this should, you have this huge expectation about what motherhood is going to be like. And then you get into it, and then you have this struggle with your hormones, and it sort of puts a damper on, like,
On
you know,
everything.
on everything. And also, like, on what should be the most amazing time in your life, right? And having a baby is the most incredible gift, but also the hardest fucking thing ever. You know what I mean? So, you know, like, on top of like everything that's going on, like, that's like the last thing that you need.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm really excited about just having the conversations that, one, people understand that this is something that happens to a lot of people, and two, you get past it, and three, just like giving people useful tools so that one, they can proactively prevent that as much as possible, and when they're in that situation, they can limit that as much as possible and shorten it. So hit us.
Yeah. Okay, so postpartum. All right. So what I would say is a lot of women that suffer from postpartum that's rough, there was some information during prenatal that was missed for some. Okay, because a lot of times we don't prepare our body for birthing. We don't prepare, right? We just think that, you know, preparing means going to the doctor, doing our ultrasound, making sure we take our prenatal vitamin and keeping it moving. But when the postpartum phase starts, and the things that we are supposed to be, we're now supposed to be excited. We're now supposed to feel this love that we've never experienced before. Because, of course, we love this little thing, before we even see it, right? You find that between postpartum depression and just even baby blues, okay, which is another word that is not the depression, but the baby blues in itself, which is a milder version of it. A lot of times it's because the body is not responding how it is that you thought it would have responded, or the birth didn't go the way you wanted it and hoped it would have gone.
Yes.
And so it's important for us to make a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for our birth. So that when postpartum comes, you find that we're not like, oh my God, we're devastated because plan A didn't happen. Because we have plan B and we worked out plan B, and now we can just do plan B or plan C or whatever the case is. So for example, my cousin, she had postpartum depression because she couldn't breastfeed. Right? She couldn't breastfeed. It wasn't happening. The doctor gave her something that after he gave her, he was like, oh, by the way, you can't breastfeed. And it was just very stressful for her, right? And so when I do my prenatal consultations with my clients, I make sure I tell them, are you preparing your boobs? Are you preparing your breasts to breastfeed? Are you massaging them? Are you rubbing them? Are you putting heat on them and really just feeling them? Because the softer your milk ducts are, is the easier your milk is going to come in, right? On top of that, of course, everybody wants a vaginal birth, but sometimes, unfortunately, crap happens for whatever reason, and you end up in a C-section. And sometimes it takes longer for the milk to come out when you do a C-section birth versus if you were to do a vaginal birth. And so if you were caressing and massaging and showing your breast love during your pregnancy, not the nipples, but just the outside area of the breast, you would find that your milk will come in even though you had a C-section, and it's not as stressful, okay?
And that's something you and your partner can do together that also is
yes, you can make it sexual and loving. Yes, for sure, 100%. And you know, I'll be honest with you, this is another topic, but I'll just throw this in there. I mean, I've been teaching ladies lately to be able to just touch their breast and orgasm. You don't even have to touch anything else. You don't even have to touch your nipples. You can just touch your boobs. You can even not touch anything. I can just teach you some deep breathing and you'll just come all over yourself, right?
That is part 2. We are definitely following up on that conversation. We're going to let you guys to that one. I think that's more interesting.
But it's really important for us to prepare, okay? Another thing that I find too is with the postpartum, maybe depression or baby blues, a lot of times, again, it's deficiencies, right? We don't have enough vitamin B6. We don't have enough vitamin B12. We don't have enough iron. We don't have enough of these things. And so what I do for some of my moms, it's not for everyone, but what I do is I do placenta encapsulation, okay? Placenta encapsulation basically is you give birth to your baby, a few minutes later, your placenta comes out, or you give birth to your placenta. If you would call me and you'd say, hey, Ramona, or your husband call me, or boyfriend or whoever, hey, Ramona, baby's here, placenta is here, come get it. If you're at the hospital, if you're at your home, wherever it is that you're having your baby, I would come with my cooler and my ice and come and get your placenta, right? And I would take it back to my house. And I would examine your placenta to make sure that it is edible. Because not every placenta you can swallow, okay? For some of them, they're already breaking down and that kind of thing, so it's not as healthy. Okay. Some of them have cysts on them and all kinds of this kind of thing. So we want to make sure that it is good to go. Once I've realized it's good to go, I'm going to wash it. I'm going to remove the sac from it. I'm going to cut it up. And then I'm going to put it in the dehydrator and I'm going to dehydrate it. I'm then going to grind it up. I'm going to put it into capsules and I'm going to take it to the mom. For some women, I would recommend taking 1 capsule a day. Because the placenta capsules help with milk production. It helps with postpartum depression or baby blues. And it helps you to just really bounce back. Okay, because let's keep it real. You got to bounce back. You got a baby you got to take care of. Worse, if you got babies, if you have children before and now you have a baby on top of it, it takes even more, right, energy and effort. So the placenta encapsulation is great. It's not for everyone, but for me, I always give it as an option to my clients, and if they need it, if they want it, they do it. I've had clients that have suffered from crazy postpartum depression, and they don't ever want to go through that ever again. So they're like, yo, give me everything. If I need to eat my placenta, if you need to put that shit in a brownie, do whatever you need to do, man. I am on it, you know? So it really just depends on mentally where that mom is, right? Vaginal steaming again. Okay. Yeah, right? Vaginal steaming as well is great after you've had your baby. You can steam the same day you've had your baby. You can steam 3 days after. Maybe a vaginal birth or a C-section. The C-section, what the vaginal steam does for you there is it softens your scar tissue, okay? And the softer your scar tissue is only means that maybe one day you can have a VBAC if you want to. VBAC meaning a vaginal birth after cesarean, okay? Or if you've had a vaginal birth, it really helps to remove all the extra clots and the fluid and all those extra things that are there once you've had baby. So vaginal steaming is really great for that postpartum stage as well. Now, if we're talking about tearing, because sometimes women tear, and I always tell my clients, no matter if it's a midwife or a doctor, when it is that you're giving birth, your baby's crowning, coming out, tell your doctor, go in there. Go in there, put on a little lube and like go around and stretch it a little bit and make sure that as baby's head is coming, right, you are not creating friction, but it is only good things, because the tearing aspect now then means here is another thing that I have to deal with on top of dealing with this new bundle of joy, right? If it is that you've torn, I would definitely recommend a 6 bath. And a 6 bath is usually a lot of different types of salts. I personally use Dead Sea salt. I use pink Himalayan salt, and I use Epsom salt. I add lavender to that. I add frankincense to that. I add melaleuca, which they also call tea tree. And you would sit in the tub and just allow all of that to happen. And of course, the water would need to be warm. Not hot, so it burn out yourself and you're stressed out and you're whatever, but hot enough for it to make an impact, but still not too hot where you can sit in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I did sit. So I also just to add this, I remember like before I was really afraid of tearing. I have no tolerance for like physical pain. And so my doctor was saying that one thing you can do to prepare beforehand is to like use like olive oil, and you do this like stretching thing, you know?
Perineal massage.
Yes, perineal massage. And then that's also something you can do with your partner, because sometimes, you know, the guys feel left out in the whole process. They want to help. It's also like a nice way to have a little bit of intimacy when you're feeling really big. But it's just like a nice like connection too, and the guy can like sort of help you with that. You can do it by yourself too if you feel more comfortable, but just to throw that in the mix.
I think that's great. I think when you involve your partner in that, or anything when it comes to the actual pregnancy, birthing, or postpartum issue aspect, it's always better, that bonding aspect, which is why I love hypnobirthing, because hypnobirthing really brings the mom, the dad, and the baby together. You know what I mean? So dad being able to learn and have different techniques in terms of her massage, You know what I mean? So when my clients come to me and they'll say that they come for a prenatal consultation, and I'll teach him different massages that it might not seem like a massage when he's doing it, because you're just like, I don't know what you're doing. But when your ass is like in labor, right? And you are like, what the hell? I just want this to be over. When he's doing these different techniques, it is amazing, because a lot of it is by the spine, and the spine is just so sensitive, right? But it's always good to get daddy involved. 100%, I agree with you.
I mean, also, like, I feel like it just kind of prepares you, right? When you're in the day, there's no way to be prepared, but like, at least if you have some things you can do, then you're not just like helpless, like.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
I agree.
So what about the element of postpartum that comes from like a traumatic birth? Because that was my case.
Okay. So usually what I would suggest, if that was the case, right, is we definitely have to get down into removing some of that trauma from the subconscious, right? There's a lot of meditation, there is a lot of healing emotionally and mentally that has to happen, because we want to remove that trauma that then that you associate also with the baby. No matter still how much you love your baby, sometimes that trauma still keeps you from that bond that you could have had or you thought you would have had, because you're trauma. It's like, it was horrible, you know, it was painful, or, you know, whatever the case is. So if
how do you do that?
happens, okay, so usually what I would do is I would actually do meditations for my clients, right? Like, you lie down, I tell you how I want you to breathe, I put on my meditation voice, and we remove some of that trauma. What I would also recommend is when it comes to skin to skin, okay? Now, they talk about skin to skin, and of course, mom doing skin to skin, dad doing skin to skin, because it bonds, right? But if there is a traumatic birth, that skin to skin needs to happen much more often. So not just once a day, not just twice a day, but maybe all day. Maybe all day you need to do that. You know what I mean? And of course, that's not realistic for everyone, because some people don't have anybody to do anything else, and you have to be dealing with the baby and the house and the this and the that. So it's not necessarily realistic for everyone. But the more skin to skin that you can do with your baby, and skin to skin basically means your chest, your abdomen, you have nothing on. Baby also has nothing on other than their diaper, and they're sleeping on you, okay? It really makes a difference. It seems really simple, but it really, really does make a difference. So I would say definitely skin to skin, definitely meditation and releasing that is extremely important, or visualizations, or whatever it is that you want to call it, definitely helps with that 100%. But what I want to say is, if we prepare a little more, you might find that it doesn't have to happen. And when I say prepare, I don't just mean perineal massages or rubbing your breasts or whatever, but the breath. When you're pregnant, it comes down to when you're giving birth, it comes down to your breath. If you are breathing properly, if you are not using your mouth, if your jaw is relaxed, if you are inhaling through your nose and out through your nose, if you are relaxed, your pelvis, your everything, your vagina, worse if you suck a lollipop, worse if, I don't know, we'll go into this another day, but I do orgasmic births with some of my clients. So they give birth in an orgasmic state. And a lot of times, of course, that is going to involve some kind of fellatio or some kind of thing where their jaw and their mouth is working, right?
This got deep. Once fellatio was brought up during birth, it got deep. Nobody saw that one.
So, I'm sorry.
No, it's great. Get through it. I love all the surprises.
But in general, if we keep our mouth relaxed, right, when we want that relaxing type of birth, you will find that your body will give you, or your body will react in the way that it needs to for a less traumatic birth. If we make sure that when you're pregnant, you get a medicine ball, which is like an exercise ball that they make you do abs on and all that crazy stuff. If you sit on that on a daily basis and rock to the left and rock to the right and rock and whine, I'm sure everybody on here is supposed to know what whine is, right? I hope, hopefully, if not, meaning move your waistline clockwise, move your waistline anti-clockwise, and you do that on a daily basis, you find that your pelvis itself is going to be so ready to be able to have that baby descend down. So I always come back to preparation because it is key, right? It is not everything because, as I said before, things happen. But if we really prepare our mind, our physical body, and our emotions for the birth, you find that the birth in itself or the postpartum aspect is not as bad. And we have to understand that we can't leave it up to our OBGYNs all the time because that's not their job. Yeah. Their job is just to make sure the baby is healthy and you are healthy, and that's it. That's their job. Their job is not necessarily to break down each and every aspect for you to now decide what kind of birth plan do you want. This, that. Probably when you come to your OBGYN about a birth plan, they're probably like, oh God, here's another one, right? Because the new thing is to have a birth plan, and you should have a birth plan. You plan your wedding. You plan your wedding for almost a year. Why the heck shouldn't you plan your birth? You know what I mean? So preparation is important.
Yeah,
you had a doula. Yeah, I love it. I love being a doula. I can't
recommend anything more. If there's one time in your life where you're going to start for something, have a doula.
Have a doula. I agree. And a postpartum doula. You can have a postpartum doula as well.
And a postpartum doula too, for sure. Especially if you go through something that's difficult. You need that kind of support with somebody who can support you emotionally and give you tools and all those kinds of things.
And help you with your own lifestyle as well. You know what I mean? Because your postpartum doula can cook your dinner, cook your husband dinner, that. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. Okay, so two quick things. My girl Ilya is here, and she's like one of my best friends from childhood, but she's like our go-to natural mama, like birth at home in the water like a rock star, no problem, had fun. Ilya, so if you have
my kind of girl
to share, let us know in the messages. And I was gonna say if you want to come on live, then we can add you, but I know you're not gonna want to do that. But you tell me, but I have a feeling you don't. But if you do. But if you have any other thoughts to add to share about what women can do to have a more pleasant experience during the pregnancy period and postpartum, then just let us know here and then we'll call it out. And I also wanted to shout it to Cass. And then the last question, Ramona, is just around wrapping up this whole topic of steaming, because it sounds like steaming is really good for lots of different things. The facial, whatever.
Facial, yeah.
And I'm sure that it sounds a bit ignorant, but I'm sure lots of people don't know, like, what exactly are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I know that you said that you have a blend of oils. Hi, Kat.
And herbs.
I'm so happy you're here. Sorry, you're just seeing like my other girls here. Okay, so yeah, I'm sure. I know you said that you have some essential oils that. And let us know if you have any questions. So I know you said that you have some essential oils that you can use, but like, what do? Do you just turn on the shower and it's hot water? Do you use a hand?
Okay. So this is what it is. So
for your vagina. Like, give us a step by step.
Okay, so if you're doing it at home, okay, and the majority of my clients do it at home, I urge them to do it at home because it's cheaper to do it at home. And I am a big fan of healing yourself. When you heal yourself, there's an empowerment, there's an everything about that. So I'm all about that. So what I would really suggest is, like if you ordered a vaginal steam from me, right? It would come with either the oil or the herbs, depending on what is what. And it would come with 2 bowls, right? One is a stainless steel bowl and one is a plastic bowl. You would need to buy distilled or purified water. You're going to get your electric kettle, please. Buy an electric kettle. Go to Walmart, get one for $15. It makes a huge difference. Don't boil the water on the stove. That is just too stressful. If I had to boil the water on the stove, I would never steam. Forget that, right?
Yeah, no,
so you go in the bath.
That's like the steaming when Jesus was a baby. I want to do this in 2020.
Exactly. We're almost 21, right? So you're going to take So you're going to take the kettle in the bathroom. You're going to fill it up with the water, of course. You're going to make sure your toilet is clean, okay? You're going to put your stainless steel bowl in your plastic bowl. The reason why you're getting the plastic bowl is because the plastic bowl is going to allow the stainless steel bowl to sit in the toilet. Now, this bowl, it has taken me over a year and a half to find a bowl that fits in everyone's toilet across the world, because I have clients Dubai, everywhere, right? So this bowl sits in your toilet, you put your herbs or your oil in it, and then you pour some water on there. When you're pouring the water, I suggest pouring probably about a cup or two, no more than that, okay? You put down the seat itself, and then you sit. You allow the steam to come up into your vagina. There are some women that their vaginas are fat and meaty. Okay, so if your vagina is fat and meaty, just gently peel away the layers a little bit, right? So that the steam can go up in there a little bit more, right? And you sit there for 45 minutes to an hour, depending, okay? Now, as the water...
So open up the vagina.
Huh?
Open up the vagina.
Yes, open it up. Make it fully in the steam, right? Okay. So once you have sat there and the actual water is not as warm and you're not feeling the steam as much, you're going to then turn on your kettle again, warm up the water, and do a little top up. And you're going to go back and sit down. For some women, they only need to top up 2 times for the hour. If you're someone like me, I top up every 10 to 15 minutes because I want it hot, right? It just depends on what it is that you can manage. So that's basically what the steam is. Yeah. And it smells good and you feel relaxed after. Some of my clients fall asleep while they're doing it. Great.
How often do people do it?
It's awesome. I'm going to send you one.
How often? How often should people do it?
Okay, so I would say you want to do it at least once a month on the last day of your period. Not when the period is done, but when you have that last little spot here and a little spot there, that's when you want to steam, because it's going to help with all these other different things that you can benefit from: a shorter period, a less clots, a less this, all of that, right? Yeah. But if it is that you want to do it more, you can. I have clients that do it before they know they're going to have sex. I have some clients that are going to do it twice a month. It just really depends on you, your body, what you're comfortable with. But at least once a month. If you're going to do it once a month, you want to do it on the last day of your period.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up now. But before we go, I just want to give you guys some more information about how Ramona can support you in your journey. And I'm just very curious to hear from you guys. So just let us know in the comments where you're from. And I always, for me, it's always about action is where the magic happens. And so I think it's always great to have these conversations, but putting the thing in place in your life is where you really get those results from. Oh my God, people are making so much noise. And so I would just love to hear from you guys, where you're from and what thing you're planning on doing from based on what we've talked about. And so we can hold each other accountable. And then I'm just going to read quickly what Ilya shared. Ilya says, I did hypnobirthing and breath, which you spoke about already, and reframing the words that we use to describe birthing from more traumatic words to more positive words, which is amazing and totally so important. It's amazing how powerful that simple, it sounds simple, but it's really powerful. Birthing can be scary for the first time mom. So instead of contractions, use surges. And instead of using a fire, use a blooming rose to describe your vagina opening to release the baby.
Yes.
Okay.
My hypnobirthing process.
Where everybody's from. I mean, I'm gonna try the steaming. That's that's my commitment. And then Ramona, let everyone know, how they can, what you can give them to help them, how you can support them, what services you offer, how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, so you can find me at Cosmic Woman, which is the page I'm actually using right now. That is the business page. We work with hormonal stuff, period stuff, pregnancy, fertility. Many women, it's hard for them to get pregnant. We definitely help you. And of course, everything is from a holistic standpoint. When it comes to actual pregnancy and birthing, we do teach hypnobirthing, mix a little bit of other things. It is important for you to be able to give birth to your baby and just not have a stress. When I gave birth, my husband thought I was sleeping. It was amazing, my hypnobirthing experience. It was no pain, no stress.
Was like.
If you would like to find me, as I said, Cosmic Woman, you can look for me there on Instagram. You can also check me out on The Vagina Lady on Instagram, which is my personal page, but you can definitely hit me up, DM me there. I do have a website, cosmicwoman.com, and if you want to purchase products, you can go there and do so. If you are in Jamaica, I would suggest that you WhatsApp the Jamaica number, place an order. You can pick up, or you can we can have it delivered. The number is 876-406-2764. Of course, you can just send a message and we can send that number back to you. That is not a problem. And there's some that are really uncomfortable with messaging in that way, and it's easier for them to send a email. So please, if that's your situation, send your email. It is cosmicwoman@gmail.com if it is that you want to send an email. Remember that we're all about easy, breezy periods. Periods are supposed to be easy. They're supposed to be breezy. They're supposed to be short and sweet. And if you need help with that, of course, I'm here.
Amazing. This has been such a fantastic conversation. We planned to have it for 20 minutes, but it was so interesting we couldn't stop.
I know, I'm like, time is over.
A wealth of information. I feel like I know all about my vagina now.
Thank you for having me, Goddess. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're so lovely. We so appreciate this. And guys, and when I have my next baby, I am so hitting you up for everything.
I'm here. I am here.
And guys, I know sometimes people feel shy about things, but I just want to say, if you do feel shy, Ramona is so warm. She just really is the easiest person to talk to. Just send her a message and then see where that goes. But don't feel shy about like standing up for your health and for something that can serve you and make you feel better and live a more fulfilling life. So we're going to send you guys so much love. And we'll see you later.
Thank you. Thank you, Krystal.
Oh, you're so welcome. Bye, guys.
Have a good rest of the night, honey.
All right,
bye.